Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Liv. I'm bringing you a message that I believe is long overdue and deeply necessary for us, especially those of us who love this country and care about what's going on behind the scenes, right? Right now in Texas, we're seeing another political stunt. Over 50 Democrat lawmakers have fled the state, refusing to show up for work, all to block a Republican-backed redistricting bill supported by Donald Trump. Now, while this may seem like just another partisan fight, I want to talk to you about what this really is. Because this isn't just about mapping or voting, this is about power, control, and truth. So if you're wondering what's happening in Texas, let me give you a quick rundown. Now, Governor Greg Abbott is pushing for a new congressional map that would create 5 Republican-leaning districts. Democrats in the Texas House didn't like that. Instead of debating or voting, they left the state entirely. They did this to deny quorum, which means they're intentionally stopping democracy from working just because they're not getting their way. Now listen, I need you to pick up what I am about to put down. They're walking out to break quorum because they know the House need a certain number of members present, at least 100 out of the 150 to be exact, in order to vote on legislations. In democracy, that's supposed to reflect the will of the people. It means creating laws that serve what the American people want, not laws that just benefit the government or are used to oppress certain groups. Catch that. Don't let that fly over your head. Now, I'm going to explain why this is extremely crucial for you to comprehend. They did this back in 2001, and they even did it back in 2003. So this is nothing new. It's a deliberate tactic. But now Governor Abbott is threatening to remove them from office, fine them $500 a day, and maybe even file charges if their fundraising is breaking Texas bribery laws. Now here's a clip of Governor Abbott.
Perspective, what is the issue? Why did they leave?
So they're leaving, and they've left because they're very un-Texan. Texans don't run from a fight, and there's a fight going on in the legislature right now about redistricting as well as other things. But I'll make 2 quick points, Dana, about this. For one, to run to states like New York and Illinois to protest redistricting is kind of like running to Wisconsin to protest cheese. It's just kind of outrageous. Those are New York and Illinois are 2 hallmark states. They've already done redistricting to eliminate Republicans. But the second thing is far more serious, and that is what these Democrats have done. Just a small fraction of them were needed to break a quorum, and that small fraction is holding hostage legislation in the state of Texas where we will be able to provide assistance and reform for all of the victims of that horrific flooding that we've had in the state of Texas. Our fellow Texans are being let down and not getting the flood relief they need because these Democrats have absconded from the responsibility, and I believe they have forfeited their seats in the state legislature because they're not doing the job they were elected to do.
Governor, let me show everybody here what you were talking about. I think we have this map of Illinois and the districts as they've been drawn. And as you point out, it's been over and over again. They make these small little squiggly lines to make sure that they can figure out the best way to get Democrats there. So that's an example of what you were talking about. I want to play for you this sound from State Representative Gene Wu. He's a Democrat from Texas.
Now, someone might say, well, haven't the Republicans done this too? And you will be right. You know, that's correct. But it's important to understand why they did it. There is a massive difference. Republicans walked out in places like Oregon and India to defend against radical bills, for instance, the climate scheme, union overreach, and big government mandates. So when Republicans walked out, they were not trying to grow the system or silence the American people. They were trying to protect freedom from being crushed by more regulations. So yes, both parties have walked out, but the motives are different, and that matters. Let's address who's really acting like Jim Crow. Pause. Now, real quick, if you ever wonder, was Jim Crow an actual person? The answer is no, okay? The name Jim Crow actually came from a racist blackface character created in the 1800s by a white performer named Thomas Daddy Rice. He mocked black people for entertainment, and that character became so popular, the name Jim Crow eventually got slapped onto the entire system of racist laws and segregation in the South. So when they say Jim Crow law, we're really talking about real policies that enforce racism, voter suppression, and government control, not a person. So again, I ask, who's really acting like Jim Crow today? I'll tell you this for certain. Don't just look for white people. They have blackface too. And they have recruited others. Pause and take that in. Because when you look at the patterns, it's not hard to see. That matters, especially for Black Americans in low-income families who are constantly being manipulated. Listen to this clip. This man served our country, and now he's a resident of Texas, and he's speaking out on what's happening when it comes to the redistricting.
As a Black American, Afghanistan veteran, a retired department head of the U.S. Department of Justice, I strongly support the Republican redistricting. I do not want, nor does the great state of Texas or this magnificent nation deserve to continue.
The gentleman is recognized to continue his testimony.
I do not want the great state of Texas or this magnificent nation deserve to continue seeing systemic gang and street violence, a plummeting educational system, communities deteriorating, men and women's sports, etc., while Democrats sit quietly and fall to condemn or acknowledge the systemic moral decay.
Let's be clear. Jim Crow was about control, about keeping people stuck, dependent, and silenced. Now use the common sense lens that God have gave you for free to take a better look at today's Democratic Party. So when I said earlier not to let the message go over your head, here's what I meant. When Democrats push laws that only benefit the government or are used to oppress certain groups, that's exactly what modern day Jim Crow looks like. What's so fascinating is how God is exposing the darkness within that party, and Black Americans are finally waking up to how they've been manipulated and deceived for generations. They oppress voter ID laws and call it equity. They block school choices, forcing our kids to stay in failing schools. They promote welfare expansions without building path to ownership or opportunity. They push race-based policies that divide instead of unite. That's not freedom. That's not empowerment. That is modern day control wrapped in emotional manipulation. The truth is, the party that claims to fight for the poor is the same party that's profiting off keeping them poor. Now that's wicked. The Republican Party isn't perfect. No party is. That's understood. No one is blind to that. But when we look at the core values, faith, family, freedom, personal responsibility, and limited government, those are biblical. Those are foundational. The American First Movement is about keeping God at the center, protecting borders, promoting strong families, defending free speech, and making sure government serves the American people, not the other way around. That's the opposite of Jim Crow. That's empowerment, not enslavement. So when Democrats walk out of their job, when they leave Texas to stop a vote, you have to ask yourself, who are they really fighting for? Because it's not the working class, it's not struggling parents, it's not the flood victims waiting on relief. They're fighting for control over the narrative, control over the votes, and ultimately control over you. If you made it this far, you already know what's up. This isn't about left versus right. This is about truth versus lies, freedom versus control, God's order versus man manipulation. I encourage you, don't let anyone guilt you into silence. Don't let anyone tell you you're betraying your people just for asking questions. You are the people and you deserve the truth. Now, what do you guys think about the Texas walkout? I hope you consider subscribing. Please like and share this video, and I'll see you in the next one.